Welcome to the Sober by Design podcast, where we explore the many pathways to recovery and a better life through conversations with a wide array of guests. Whether you're sober curious, in recovery, or simply looking to improve your mental health and well-being, this podcast will have something for you. Each week, we sit down with inspiring guests from all walks of life who share their personal stories of struggle and triumph, offering valuable insights and practical advice on how to design a life worth living. From addiction and mental health to spirituality and creativity, we cover a wide range of topics that are relevant to anyone seeking to live a more fulfilling and authentic life. So join us on this journey of discovery, growth, and transformation, and start designing a new life. All right, tonight we are hosting the first Sober by Design podcast, and I am very happy to be here with a special guest, probably the most special guest that I'll have on the podcast, unless she decides to come again. It is my wife, Renee Hennings. Renee is not only my wife, but she is the mother to my two children and a birth doula. And I think that the discussion we'll have tonight will be interesting on a couple fronts. But for now, I'm going to let Renee kind of introduce herself and her background, kind of how she grew up, and then right up to when we met, and then we'll take it from there. How you doing tonight, Renee?
I'm all right, Corey.
I haven't seen you in
It's
a
really
while.
odd. What's that?
I said I haven't seen you in a while.
I know. It's been 18 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm going to do without you, honey.
Okay.
So I was born Montclair, New Jersey in 1976 to my parents, Don and Nancy. And I have an older brother. He is 3.5 years older than me. When I was born, my parents were living in Livingston, New Jersey. And then we moved, I think when I was about 4, to Essex Fells, very fancy town, lots of money and lots of people with lots of money. What's it called? My dad had his own business as a photographer, and he had fancy cars and boats, sailboats. It was his preference. We spent a lot of time at a place called Spruce Run in New Jersey, which is central Jersey down by Clinton, with his first small boats, day sailors and such. And then we moved to Sandy Hook with the bigger boats. And then we moved to Milford, Connecticut, with yet another bigger boat, and possibly 2 or 3 more bigger boats, still in Milford, Connecticut. That was a big part of my childhood was spending it on the boat on the weekends, pretty much from May till October. That's what my weekends would consist of. When I was, I think, 9, I started going away to sleepaway camp in Pennsylvania, in northeast Pennsylvania, Shahola Falls, to Buck and Beaver summer camp. And I was there for 5 summers into my early teenage years, and it was probably my best experiences of that time in life. Making some great friends and just having great experiences. I went to the grammar school in my town, had a couple wonderful bullies in grammar school, and to this day I still do not forgive them or forget them, which probably is a big part of my everyday life, unfortunately. And then went to high school, West Essex High School, and did okay there. Made some really great friends and enjoyed it. I guess, somewhat, as much as you can enjoy high school. And then I went to High Point University for one semester in North Carolina. Couldn't hack being away that far away from my family, and decided to come home and went over to Caldwell College. So, a mile and a half away from my home, my childhood home. And then the following summer, I met you.
That's right. Brings us to almost current day. That was in 96. So
Yes.
we're talking a long time ago.
So no, actually, so it was 96 that we met. So 94 and then 95. So it was going into my second year of college that I met you.
Yes.
So sorry, my error.
No,
yeah.
no.
I spent a year and a half at Caldwell by the time I met you. Okay. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is true.
That's right.
That was a good wrap up of your childhood. I do want to just talk on the one thing that I really gleaned from your childhood is the summer camp.
Yeah.
Much different than my upbringing. I know that you spent time there, and your brother spent time away at schools as well. So there was a lot of like away time for you guys. But I think your away time was super positive. We have VHS tapes of Buck and Beaver stuff in our basement that we can't watch anymore. We
should purchase a VHS or VCR.
We could get
just
them,
so we could watch it.
We could get them transformed or converted to digital.
Or that.
Yeah, there was somebody in our wedding party who was a Buck and Beaver person.
Robin, yep.
Yes, you went away to England right after I met you with some Buck and Beaver people. So like
no.
Duncan.
No.
Well,
no, they were High Point people, but I met up with Duncan.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, so this was a huge part of your childhood. I mean, on the one hand, you had this super sort of social experience where you were very much at home at summer camp, and then you would go back to New Jersey and step into this bullying situation. And it seems that somehow, which makes sense, that one would outweigh the summer camp, right? The summer camp was such a small portion. And then your day-to-day, just school life, were these girls who bullied you. And that's really kind of what's, you said, like, it's still part of your daily life. I just wonder, I don't know. I wonder how have you tried to deal with the bullying, like, as you've grown up? Like, what steps have you taken recently to try to work through some of that stuff?
Well, recently I have worked with the lovely Deborah, EFT and tapping, to move through that issue.
And
it has helped me quite a bit. Sorry.
What's tapping?
Tapping. So it's certain points on your head, right on the top of your head, right on the inside of your eyebrow, on the outside, on your temple, underneath your eye, underneath your nose, underneath your, on your chin, right in the middle, on your collarbone, and then under your armpit. So these are points that supposedly, and I do know that they actually work, calm your nervous system, and kind of help your brain somehow process trauma. Either looking back on it, like, reliving it kind of in your mind, or actually in the moment of doing, like, getting through trauma. So like I had an instance last summer where I had to talk to somebody, and I tapped as I was talking to this person about a specific trauma. And I believe fully and wholeheartedly that it was pretty much the only reason that I did not vomit right there, talking to that person. I was able to get through it. I was able to say the things that I needed to say without too much trouble.
Right.
So it's pretty fantastic stuff.
And that's a very specific type of therapy, and I know about it. I'm just sort of saying like, what is EFT? To be silly, I myself have gone to Deb and worked through some stuff. So it is a lot about those points that we tap on, and then I think Deb specifically does a good job of coming up with things to say through that really make you evaluate maybe what you're thinking, reframing it, and then somehow through that you're she's kind of trying to rewire your thoughts a little bit. So
Yeah.
I have found that good. But so you use that one a lot more for that type of stuff, for the bullying
Yes.
trauma. Like, okay, so I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, she helped me work on it and work through it. Going back and asking about all the things that these girls would say and do to me, and me reliving it and thinking about it again, and feeling that all the feelings that came with it at that time, and just getting through it while tapping.
Right.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Just kind of staying on the, I guess, the therapy line. It's probably, we could jump around a little bit. So we'll come back to therapy. Let's jump around a little bit. So we met because we were just there. We met in 96 and, started dating pretty quickly, and really just kind of got into a full-blown relationship within like weeks. And then, soon after, I'd say within maybe a year and a half, we were living together. It was quick. I mean, and we were young. We were just children. I mean, we were not much older than our current oldest child, who's 17.
Yeah, I mean, 19 and 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, it was a lot early on. And early on in our relationship, we both like to go out and drink, and we did that pretty consistently. I mean, I think the first night we went out, we were drinking in the movie theater, and then
I don't really remember that. I mean, I remember the movie theater, but I don't remember drinking at the theater.
We were. And that kind of continued on, and it was okay, I think, for both of us for a little while, and then obviously it wasn't okay for me, and you kind of were able to shut it down, and then I kind of continued on, and that is a big part of your life story and a big part of my life story. I know that for you kind of lived the other side of it, and now me for the past 10 years as somebody who doesn't drink, but for a long time I did, and I drank sort of way more than I should have for a long time. And I think just like any spouse sort of asked, hey, stop, right? But I couldn't. I'm getting feedback. But I think over time that message sort of sunk in. What I would like to know a little bit about is like, because there was a moment where we were like the same, and then we weren't, and like how, I guess for me it's like, how were you are able to shut that off and like and just be like a normal adult, right? Like, and then today you could still do that. You are not sober. You still have a drink. You had a drink tonight, and like, you could have that drink tonight and then not drink again for like a month. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're just completely different in that realm. You know, I don't I don't want you to like relive like all the awful parts of being with me, but I'm more interested in like, you know, what that was like to sort of see you slow down and me kind of continue on that path. Um, you know,
It's
in your words. Yeah.
pretty damn difficult. Um, I when I got pregnant with Wynn, I had to not drink, and we were in Massachusetts at that time, and really just living our best drunk life. I can remember a lot of times going into the office I worked at late because I needed to sleep it off often. Um, hanging out at the Rockfish with you many, many nights a week. And then we got pregnant and I couldn't anymore. And seeing you continue it was difficult, but it wasn't. I mean, I think there was like a little bit of jealousy at first. Like, I wish I could be able to do this too, still, but it wasn't. Didn't live very long in my mind because I knew I couldn't drink being pregnant, and I was not smoking it at that point either, or it was very little, and then it was not. In the very beginning of the pregnancy, it was still like coming down off of cigarettes, and then I completely stopped for a while. But it, so at the point where I was not feeling that jealousy feeling anymore, I was pregnant, and you were still drinking. I think you maybe toned it down a little bit. But still, like when you were active, you were definitely very active.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wasn't as often. But it was still, you were a good drinker when you chose to drink. It was just like kind of annoying to
Yeah.
me. Like, oh, we're gonna go out with Cindy and Laura and Dave and Carice, and Corey's gonna drink and I'm not, and uh, yeah, it might suck, but we're out with our friends, so it's probably going to be a good time. And it usually was. I don't think I remember a whole lot of bad times um, while I was pregnant. I can remember Winston being born and us coming home from the hospital before we went back to the hospital for the jaundice lights.
Mm-hmm.
You having like a big drink when we got home that first home, and that pissed me off like really, really bad. Like, why the f could you not do that?
Right.
Like, why could you not hold yourself back from that? Please show me some kind of respect.
Right.
And it wasn't even like a respect thing. It was just like, probably from like your point of view, it wasn't a respect thing. It was just I'm doing this and I'm celebrating the birth of my son and we're home and whatever it was in your mind. But that thing, I can remember clearly. That moment in my mind was very frustrating to me.
Right.
And then like 8 more months in Massachusetts before we moved home.
It was about 8 months. Yeah.
Pretty much a blur of postpartum depression for me. I don't really remember a whole lot. I remember a lot of crying for me, not because of you, but just because I felt like crap. And me trying to do things with Wynn to be a regular mom, like going to the park and doing stuff like that, like trying to do things. And then we moved back to New Jersey, and we lived in that god awful apartment with the people who always fought downstairs. And I somehow think that made you more of a drinker. And I don't know why. Maybe you felt like you fit in,
I don't know.
but your drinking was, I think, the worst when we lived there.
It
Um,
was pretty bad, you know. I will
yeah,
say that. It was probably for me that period of time and then like right at the end were the worst. Like
yeah,
those two periods for me were looking back like the most miserable. And on my end, you know, I was seeing you, you know, struggling with the postpartum, and we were in that crap hole apartment. You know, I think both of us had some amount of regret of moving back, like almost instantaneously. And here we still are, 17 years later, in New Jersey. But you know, things have changed. But you know, that
yeah,
moment in time, like it was rough. It was a rough moment in time. You know, there were great moments and there were some really bad ones. And I think, you know, my drinking was really bad then. We moved. Finally, we moved back to like the country area, and I think it kind of maybe came down a little bit. And then
yeah. I mean, we went to West Caldwell,
yeah,
and then we went to
I just think
Franklin.
that whole time in that area was just not great. Like I just really just that was like one of the worst times for me personally. Don't know why or what. You know, I in that time period, I think I tried AA maybe once or twice. Um, Never stuck. You
Yeah,
know, um, you know, I was hearing you. I was hearing you, just wasn't sticking. You know,
yeah.
um, and then when we moved back, I think you know again there were some ebbs and flows, and then you know um, we did finally end up at Betsy's office,
Yeah.
and you know we went through couples counseling together, which I think is like one of the best things I've ever done in my life. You know, maybe probably the best. You know, there's because now we can have like a conversation like this, and it's not traumatic. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if some couple just had that conversation, they might like not talk to each other for like a week, but we're okay, we're cool.
Yeah.
And
I
like
mean, it's amazing
yeah, and
what she did for us.
yeah, and Betsy did that for us, and then I think she did stuff for us each individually too,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, you know, for you, I don't exactly know like what you took out of Betsy, but I'm gonna tell you, like for me, my time with her was, you know, it was so, you know, I was struggling with my drinking at that point, and it was bad, and I would go in there and I would have issues, you know, be it, you know, work or you know something around the house or you know this is still going on with Renee or Winston did this or you know Desmond's crying all the time and you know she just kind of
Was
kept
he was oh
uh
was yeah, he was
yeah he was
born
born
like at the end of her.
he was born and
Yeah.
you know the thing was like she would kind of always go like well are you drinking you know like and I always try to find a way around it like you know some avenue around the drinking part of it and she just kind of always came back to it and
Yeah.
not 100% the reason that I ended up you know getting sober on September 4th but I don't think I would have done it if I hadn't had all that time with her so like I really feel like she is like such an integral person in our like family's story you know and it's just this random person that just you know, we picked out of like probably our healthcare book, you
Yeah.
know, just kind of amazing how that kind of works out. But for you, I'm sure you took other stuff out of it, that your time with her. But,
Yeah.
um, you know, again, just, you know, I think we are both pretty big advocates of mental health and going out and talking to people. And, there's Betsy, there's Deb, there's Teresa, there's Jodina, there's, you know, I'll
Yeah.
even throw Miss Linda in there, for helping Des out. So,
Yep.
I am always a big fan of if you're having trouble, either yourself or your children or, your spouse, with your spouse, to go talk it out. Because like we,
Yeah.
we just
It
don't
makes a
know enough.
humongous difference. It's amazing to be able to get point of view from somebody who is skilled in helping problems like this, like mental health problems, family problems. It's really wonderful
Right.
that these people exist.
Right. Right. And for us, I think in the couples therapy, one thing that I really think was important is like there might not have been great modeling in our pasts about like what like this relationship should look like a husband and wife relationship should look like. So sometimes, I think some people come out of situations where like they have a great model for everything. And, I know I personally, my model was a little bit broken, right? I had divorced parents and, truth be told, both of those parents then got divorced again. So like the modeling I had on my side was maybe a little bit, off. Not to say that I didn't pick up good things from each of those people, but
Hmm.
the husband wife dynamic, I think, maybe wasn't 100% dialed in. And,
Yeah,
you know, I don't know for you how you feel about that, but I think Betsy helped me at least on that end. And, I think that was an important thing. And,
I
yeah,
think she helped me a bit with my parents. I didn't. I think I was just kind of figuring out my parents when I was seeing her, like figuring out that my mom and my dad are alcoholics. Um, not, and I didn't really see it as soon as maybe you did, or maybe she did, that my father is an alcoholic, but um, I do see it. But I was just kind of like, started going to Al-Anon, and it was mainly because of you. And I always told you that it was more because of my mom, but um, it was also because of my mom. I was trying to gain knowledge of how to deal with it. And Al-Anon was a good help, you know, taking what I needed from it. Not all of it, because not all of it is for me, but
right.
some of it was really, I don't know, gave me some nice insight into being a family member of an alcoholic, um, both my spouse and my parents. So anyway, what I got from Betsy about my family life growing up, I mean, it was a little bit about the alcoholism in my home, uh, a little bit about bullying. She was ironically from the same town that I grew up in,
That's
so
right.
she
I
knew a lot
forgot.
of the people that I know, or knew, and it was really a bizarre thing, um, but it was helpful. Um, she gave me a lot of help through that as well. I mean, not the tapping stuff, not the EFT, but she did do EMDR, which was also very helpful for me.
Hmm.
Um, so lots of options for people with any sort of trauma. Honestly, like
Sure.
anything you can think of,
Yeah.
there's so many options that are helpful.
Yeah. And like you had mentioned before, the postpartum depression with Win. And, that I think was a very big moment in your life. Um, and I was there through that. And then, you had another big sort of mental health moment like that too, in 2018. I believe it was 2018, right?
Yeah,
So it was a little
yeah,
bit after my mom passed,
yeah,
and you were um, just a huge rock in that whole thing. You know, you were there for me and Winston and everybody, and you were going to her house because I was working and we needed to clean it out, and nobody else was like able to. And so you took that on and you spent probably, well, no, definitely an unhealthy amount of time in her house alone. And then that manifested in just like a shutdown.
Yeah. Um,
Right?
really, really frightening. Uh, yeah, I spent, I don't know, from, let's say like around now, like this time of year, like maybe March, until June, once a week approximately. Maybe even earlier. Maybe it was like February
It
where I
was,
started going.
it was.
Probably at least once a week, going to her house and packing stuff up, throwing stuff out. Once in a while, somebody would come with me, whether that be you or David or June, um, and helping me out, or her friend Lisa. Lisa would never really come over and help out. She would just let me come to her house and cry a little bit
Take
and
a
then go
break.
home,
Yeah.
um, which was very helpful. And it was really disturbing, um, doing that, whether it be on my own or with anybody else. It was, I don't know how I got through it. I really don't. But I
I
just
don't
know
either.
that it needed to get done, um,
Well,
because nobody else was going to do it, or was not able to do it, or was not allowed to do it. Um, all sorts of things were coming into play where it needed to just be me. Um, so I did it.
yeah. And then, like I said, we kind of lost you for, I would say, 3 months. You were just like
Yep.
shut down. It
Yeah.
was
So
like not
we
going
sold her.
anywhere,
We sold
nothing.
her condo. And the day we moved all the rest of the furniture out, and like the closing was, a day or two away or whatever. Um, my parents were down helping us out with the kids, while you and me and Debbie's son, and I think that was it, doing like all the heavy stuff. I can remember like pulling down the gate of the truck,
Hmm.
and then just like feeling like I can let it go now. Um, and I like let myself go, and I was a mess. I couldn't really function. Um, couldn't drive.
Yeah.
Couldn't take our kids
Yeah.
places.
Yeah. But, I think the thing that came out of it was, you found Teresa. And again, the idea that this was a dire moment and you were able to know what works to pick yourself up. It took a little bit.
I really had no idea
I
what
know,
worked
I
because
know.
nothing was working. I mean,
But it
I,
it
I
did. It just took a little time. But like
yeah,
you knew where you had to go, right? It wasn't like you understood that, I think. And somebody who would have been in that situation that had never gone to therapy might have pushed it away, And I
yeah,
think that, just having been through it a couple times was really critical, because it was different. I mean, I lived through the postpartum and then I lived through that with you. And I would say the second go around was much worse. And I thought the postpartum was bad. Um,
yeah,
you know, um, so, but again, the therapy was there. Um,
yeah,
I don't want to just stay on like sad stuff. So a little bit of the,
yeah. Please, let's
no. So
move on.
again, I am lucky enough to have on my favorite doula, my that I know. do know other doulas, but they can't be my favorite because you're my wife. So I kind of have a second favorite doula. Um, I guess I want to ask a little bit about, but what made you? Well, first off, for people who don't know, maybe explain what a doula is, and then explain why you wanted to be a doula.
Okay. So a birth doula is someone who has birth experience. Typically, not all doulas have had birth experiences, but most do. Who comes to be with a woman in labor or who will be going into labor to help her emotionally and physically try to be as comfortable as possible. So reassuring words, coaching, so to speak, physically helping her. So massage or changing of positions or aromatherapy or, anything that the mom might find to be helpful might be the most helpful for not feeling as much pain or discomfort while in labor. Because labor really sucks. It hurts like a bitch. And it's difficult especially for first-time moms. It's long and it's hard and it's frustrating because you don't know what is going on and you've never felt this pain before. And so a doula is there to kind of like talk you through that and making sure that it's normal, that this feeling is normal. Those kind of just bringing comfort measures in while the woman is in labor. And then also helping the spouse, working as kind of a team with the spouse, if there is a spouse or, a partner of whatever kind, helping them help the woman in labor. Mm-hmm. So the spouse or partner knows the person in labor as closely as you and I do. Mm-hmm. So I like to look towards the partner to, is she going to like it if I rub her shoulders? Does she like essential oils? Those kinds of things when, she's focusing on getting through this next contraction, I can say, so-and-so, does she really like this kind of thing or is it a no? And they're generally really eager to help, say, this is what I can do for my wife or my partner. I can tell the doula, yeah, she likes that, or no, definitely not. Do not touch her feet. Do not stroke her hair, anything like that. So that's what a doula generally does for a mom in labor. Me wanting to become a doula after Wen was born, or maybe even when I was still pregnant, I read an article in some free parenting magazine about doulas, and I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. I remember my cousin's wife having a doula, and we were having our babies. We were due right around the same time, and I remember talking to Pua on the phone, saying, you're not going to need a doula. You can totally do this by yourself. And she ended up having a C-section, and her son was born 7 days before Winston. Mm-hmm. Little did we know it. I mean, I was due a month later, but Win decided to come early. And then, I had Winston's birth experience. And while Corey, you were a great help and exactly what I needed, I also felt that you would have been more comfortable and happier to have somebody else there with us, helping us along. And I know I would have appreciated, just having some guidance of like, yes, this is normal. Next, you're going to feel this, that kind of thing. I think it would have been really helpful for me. So in that article, I read about it, and it was pretty much the coolest sounding job ever. I had been in office jobs, admin jobs since, college or before college. Right. And it was terribly boring and did not make me happy at all. So this sounded ideal, and it has been. It really has been.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Just going back to Winston's birth, I, we had the midwives for that
Hmm.
birth, and
Yep.
my when we did that, I thought that those people just stayed around and were like with us the whole time. So when we were there that day, and we spent what 90% of that time just like with me and you in the room, it was kind of like, oh, I thought they like were supposed to be here. So,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
that's a doula.
yeah, I know. Well, now I know that.
Now you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know
Yes. Now you
too.
know. And,
Yeah.
I think it is a great profession, and I could see it, in you when you come home from a birth, or, even just when you're talking to people about it, you're very passionate about it, and it's a very like noble profession, right? Like all of the women that I've met that perform doula work, is that what that is? Perform doula
Sure.
work. They doula. Um, so um, they're all very kind people. Um, I don't know that I've met one that hasn't been nice. They're
Yeah.
they're all very nice, kind people, and you know, you all seem to love what you do. And the ones who I've met and don't do it anymore, there's probably a reason, like why they're not doing it. I just think
Yeah.
you have to really resonate with a bunch of different people. Have very, very intimate uh, connection with somebody in a very like personal moment. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the birth of your children is like by far more profound than like a wedding,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're letting this person into that space.
Yep.
And so you've been part of like a lot of moments for people, and it's pretty incredible, really. Like,
It is.
yeah, I mean, there's like some of the kids, they're like kids now. They're not just babies. You've been doing it a
I know.
while, so
I
they're
know.
like,
It's nuts.
yeah, like they're gonna be getting driver's licenses soon,
Yep.
which is really crazy. And
Yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time when that happens. When Gabby gets her license, I'm gonna
right.
have a hard time.
But you've been doing it, and like, so you perform that service. You've gotten engaged at, the birth center where you're an educator there, and then you started to do so. Um, when we had Desmond, we had
Yes.
we. I'll tell this story because I think it's better coming
Okay.
from me.
Okay.
Um, we had a home birth. You said like I want a home birth, and we have midwives, and we're gonna have a doula. So I was okay with the midwives. I was okay with the doula. The home birth, I was like, see, it's 50-50 on at the start. And then, throughout the meetings with the midwives, I got more comfortable, and, all that went well. And then at some point, I think, and we could talk about the home birth in a minute because that was actually very cool. But um, I guess it was probably maybe a couple months before you said to me, like, I think I'm going to get my placenta encapsulated to deal with postpartum depression. And had no idea what you were talking about. And then you explained it, you know, and, now you do that too. So
Hmm.
you're encapsulating placentas for women, and that is, a tool, as far as I understand it. It helps them, deal with possible postpartum depression and
Yep.
lactation issues, and there's probably some other stuff that it does. I don't know.
Energy
Energy,
and
yeah,
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 yeah. So it
other
is.
things.
When that started, I was a little weirded out. I think I'm better with it now. I mean, it's a little different. It's
Better.
it,
Yes.
it's
Yes,
different.
you are.
It's a different thing. Um,
Yes.
but again, something that I think, again, you're providing this service to people, and they need it, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I really do like seeing you succeed in this world, and the joy that it brings. I know sometimes, these experiences can be difficult. They could be long. They wear you out. But I'd say 95% of the time you come home and you're, very ecstatic.
Yeah.
Very rarely. And, it's on the ones where you're gone for like 36 hours, where you
Yeah, a
come
day and a
home.
half or
Yeah.
something awful like that.
Yeah, you're a
Yeah.
little worn out, but that even goes away. Then you
Mhm.
see the baby and you're like, okay, everything's good.
Yep.
Um, yeah, the home birth was good for us, right?
Mhm.
I think that was good. That was like that's like pretty hipster.
Yeah.
Um,
I didn't do it to be
I
hipster.
know, but it is pretty hipster. Um, the I was nervous about it at first, but it went well. And
It did.
again, I think this is you know I was I wasn't I was like in an okay spot at that point. I was still drinking when Des was born, but I was in an okay like wave pattern. Like it was okay. I mean, I was able to set up the birth room. Like I was, you know, home that night,
True.
set it up,
True.
so like something was
Yep.
going well. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, uh, a very good experience though, and one that I'm happy that we had. Um,
Yeah. Me too.
yeah, yeah. And, overall, I think, you know, this this job for you, um, it doesn't like define you, but it's like it's been so good for you for this period of time. Like I can't imagine you as like a legal secretary like you were. Like it just doesn't make sense, now. Like looking
Yeah.
back, it makes zero sense that that's what
Yeah.
you did. Now that you have been doing this, and it's like this is exactly what you should have been doing, and maybe if you had, you know, maybe latched onto psychology more, maybe you were a therapist, something, but obviously you were meant to deal with people in some way, shape, or form, and that's been
Yeah.
really nice to see, you know.
Thanks, honey.
Yeah, no problem. Um, so I guess like I'll just give you one kind of big last question because I would like to know a little bit, but we have two kids. One's 17 and he's gonna be going to college. The other's 11. So we have, you know, there's a horizon for us. Like where things could change. 7 years down the road, 10 years down the road, whatever it is, and we've done a lot of different types of things in our life, and we have a lot of interests. Um, what's next for you? Is it just going to be, you know, continuing to do the doula stuff? Do you see anything else happening? Like what do you want out of this next phase, this next, 5 to 10 years?
Um, well, I think we both have kind of a lot in our waiting for us with the work that we might have to do for our youngest child. You sent me that Instagram thing today. I think it was today. Um, about continuing to champion for our kid because I know he's going to need it. So I think that is going to be a big part of our life in the next, 5 to 10 years while he is in school. And I want to continue being a doula, though I don't know what that holds as far as um, hospitals that are now making all sorts of rules and contracts for doulas to sign when they come in for a birth, which is really frightening to me. I don't hold a certification with a well-known entity. I started with DONA, which is probably the largest entity for doulas to get certified through, and I let that lapse because I didn't want to have to do all the paperwork every other year and pay all the fees all the time. I thought it was insane. I didn't want to have to, ask doctors and nurses to sign a couple pieces of paper every time I went to a birth. It was just like,
Hmm.
why do I need to interrupt that moment? Uh, Being there for a mom, and also having her sign a paper um, saying that I did good or didn't. It just doesn't feel right to me. So now the hospitals are also kind of putting kind of similar thoughts and ideas ahead or into their system so that doulas will not misbehave is really what it is.
Mm.
Like, we can't bring anything that we could plug in. So we can't bring diffusers to hospitals anymore for essential oils. We can't bring lights like Christmas lights to make a nice atmosphere in the room. Those kind of things that would just kind of BS to me. Like if it's going to help a mom's labor go better, why not?
Right.
It's not going to be dangerous. The doula is going to be watching, making sure nothing is catching on fire. Um, you know, it, that's not what a doula does. We're not making anything dangerous. We're making things better. So lots of hospitals in New Jersey are now making these rules. So it makes me nervous for our future, um, wanting to participate in hospital births
Mm-hmm.
and willing to participate in hospital births if these rules are put in place in every hospital, which it's starting to feel like that's going to happen. And then, we're ending the time in New Jersey where home births are being allowed as well, with or without a midwife. Well, with a midwife. I think the home birth that I'm going to be a doula for in June is one of the last that the midwives in New Jersey are going to be doing
Oh, really?
because
I didn't know that.
they don't have uh, a backup doctor
Hmm.
um, who will approve a home birth patient anymore. So they're going to stop doing it,
So is this
which is
just Jersey or is this other states as well?
um, I'm sure it is the case in other states. I just don't know the particulars because I don't
Hmm.
live there and I don't work there.
Yeah.
Some states I know it's like literally against the law to have a home birth. Like you could go to jail.
Really?
So, which is not so. Um, so I don't know what's going to happen as far as doula work in the future. Like it's really up in the air right now. Placenta work, I'll keep on doing that forever
Hmm.
because if I can, I will. Again, if hospitals are going to be crappy about releasing placentas, which they really are, a lot of them are very difficult, um, then I will continue to, I will do it less. But if they get a little bit better about it, I'll keep on doing it.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. And
Did I answer the question?
yeah, you did. You did. I was hoping that you would say like, we're gonna move to like Italy and just make
Okay.
pizzas and
I'm fine with that. I don't know if I want to move to Italy though.
No, I don't think Italy's for me either. Um,
I'd rather move to like Northern Europe.
okay, I'm down.
They're really, I mean, like England is awesome about home births. Like that's mainly what they do. So,
And we can speak
um,
that language.
and yeah, and we
Yeah,
can speak the language.
that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Ireland,
Yeah,
Scotland,
yeah,
you
all
know,
of them. Could
I'm good
speak
with
them
that.
all. We can speak all of them. Um, yeah, no, that kind of hits it. I just didn't know if you had any like major plans that I wasn't aware of. So I figured this was a
No, I think,
great, great venue to ask and be shocked on. Um, a couple other things that I just wanted to hit on. And this is more, I think, how I'm going to try to end these podcasts. My goal here in this show is to, obviously help people in recovery, but also help just anybody live a better life. When I first got sober, it was like, it was through AA. And, you know, a lot of that, a lot of the feedback that I got in the rooms and from other people there was very much like, it's like your recovery is all there is. And that's true. Like, my recovery is very important, but like also the life I live outside of it is super important to me. And I've made sure that I've, over the past 10 years lived my life. Like, I didn't get sober to um, you know, just go to AA and like think about recovery all the time. I got sober so I could spend better time with you and better time with the kids, and be a better friend and be a better, professional in my day job, and all,
Yep.
all of those things. So when my goal here through this podcast is to try to give people tools, something to take away, to kind of put into their everyday life, something small. Obviously you're not in recovery, so you don't have recovery tools, but, you know, I think that you know, your whole story of mental health is huge. And, I think that is always a big driver with people who are, misusing substances. It's just, there's always for me, it always seems like there's a mental health issue underlying it. And a lot of times people just are self-medicating and not
Hmm.
not really doing anything else. They're just sort of, you know, if I could just numb out that thought, I'm good to go. And, so what I'll ask is, you know, just for you, what's been the best tool that you've used, specifically in regard to your mental health as you've, overcome postpartum and overcome the trauma of, dealing with my mom's death and, that whole shutdown, like, and dealing with, you know, an alcoholic husband. Like, you've had a lot of challenges and yet here you still are, and you seem to be thriving. Like, what's been the best tool?
Therapy.
Therapy.
I mean, all of it, like all the different kinds
Mm-hmm.
that I've uh, had the pleasure of going through and learning from. It's all been very helpful for me. In the it was early on. It was Betsy, and then it was nothing for a little while, and then it was Teresa, and and then it was Deb. It's it is a huge part of the reason why I am here right now. Not to say that I would be, contemplating suicide, but that I am in this home, that I am, you know, present in with you and the boys. It's it saved my life,
Yeah.
um, and I have Betsy and Teresa and Deb to thank for that. Um, to thank them for bringing about in me the knowledge and the power to come back to myself.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So talk therapy, find somebody, um, to just talk to. It's
yeah.
it's
I
so
mean,
so huge.
you got to find the right person. You got to
Yeah.
find what clicks for you, what you can afford.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like that is a huge reason why people don't go to therapy is because they can't afford it. And nowadays, everybody is booked,
It's very hard.
and has like I was talking to Teresa the last time I saw her. The person who was the therapist who was in her office, the office mate, she doesn't take insurance anymore, and is charging people like $800 a visit.
Right. But there's
How?
options out there. there's options.
There
Like
there
there's,
are
yeah,
options. There's totally a ton of options. You can do stuff online.
right.
You can have therapy online, which is probably a big savior for most people,
Yes.
having that possibility. But for the people who can't find that or don't want to do that,
But
having to go see a psychiatrist, whichever one gives drugs. Um, that is crazy
there,
expensive
yeah. Um,
and impossible. I mean,
but
we see it with Wynn's friend.
well,
Um,
there's things that are out there that are, free-ish resources, in communities. We utilize the Quinlan Center, when my mom died, and that was
yep.
low cost. There's not a ton of visits there, but it is you know, in dire emergencies, there's things in communities that people can get to. It takes a little bit
Yes.
of research, but they're out there, and I just want people to know that they're out there and to lean on them. And we donate a lot of money to write Love on Our Arm, and
Hmm.
you know they have resources. So I guess I can put links in this podcast thing, and I will definitely link to that as a resource because I think they're a great resource that
Yeah.
gets people to help when they need it. There's
Yeah.
just so much. I think there's so much focus on it, but you know, I've seen it in action with you and me how it works. I'd say probably you more so than me. Like I've seen huge shifts with you, so I know that it's a thing. So
And then, I mean, something else that helped me move out of the severe depression after your mom died was Lexapro.
yes,
And, not being afraid to be on medication to help you over that
sure,
that really big hill
sure,
of depression, or whatever else you might be dealing with um, is a great tool.
yeah,
It really can be. And to find the right medication is also really important. The right dosage for whatever medication works best for you.
mm-hmm.
It was made a huge difference. I mean, I don't think I would have been able to go to South Carolina on vacation if I wasn't
Well,
on Lexapro for like a week
you wouldn't even been able to
before
go
that.
to therapy. I mean, in reality, it was, that tool let you get out the house. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
without that
it did.
drug,
I mean, that
yeah,
like along with therapy,
yeah,
it made the world work for me again.
right, right,
It
and
really did.
yeah, and those drugs are there for a reason. And people sometimes, well, so people in my world, in the recovery world, sometimes shy away from those types of things. I you know what, about 2 years ago probably, I was on something for about a year, just as like a
Yeah,
stopgap because it just was too much. There was a
yeah,
lot of stuff going on, and I just knew, like, all right, I need something more right now.
right.
And it helps. It helps.
Yeah.
It's not a sign of weakness. None of this is a sign of weakness, and I think
I
that's
know,
where,
but I think that many people are afraid that it
of
is,
course,
even within themselves. Like
of
they don't have to
course,
tell anybody they're doing therapy or taking medication, but they still find it, like, see it in themselves. Like, that makes me bad somehow.
of
And it
course.
totally doesn't. It just makes you better.
Right, right. I mean, it is a, some people don't want to go to a therapist because, they're too, masculine for that, and they can just kind of gut out the problem, or, they know better, or, I can do this without medication, and I'll just, white knuckle it. And, you know, I think as we progress in time, some of those stigmas are going away around this. I think the discussions are a little bit more open, but I also
Yeah.
do still see people hesitant to maybe go talk to somebody, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but the more people share their stories like you, um, the more people will maybe understand the benefit that it has, and be
Yeah.
more willing to to do that, right? And that's why I talk about my recovery in hopes that it hits a random person and changes their life, or just the more open everybody is, I think the better we are. So yeah, thank you for that. The medication's a huge one, because I think sometimes that's kind of left to the side, like that's just for crazy people, and it's
Yeah.
not. It's just sometimes life is so overwhelming that you need it. Just the truth, right? It's
Yeah.
like that's what it was for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brother died, dad had an aneurysm, work sucked. I was
Yeah.
still coming
Yeah.
off of dealing with like whatever, and it was like I just knew, like okay, that something is gonna give here. So,
Yeah.
you know, but again, I kind of understood. Okay, it's not that I'm crazy, and there you go. You can get it. You can get it online now. You can
I
literally
know.
you can literally go on like uh any of these
Was it
webs.
hymns?
Hims, yeah, they sell dick pills and antidepressants.
Yeah.
So you just
It's
go
great.
there, right?
Yeah. Or hers.
Or hers.
You can-
I don't think they
Yes.
sell dick pills on hers, but they
Not dick pills, but
anxiety pills, yeah. And I think I can grow hair there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
Yeah. Um, so but yeah, no, it's so available. I mean, you go on, you fill out the questionnaire, and you can get, your medication right there. It's not that much more expensive than, you would get it with a prescription card. So it's like
Yeah.
all the resources are there. So people just got to know where to go. And I think people in those states sometimes don't know where to go. So the more that, you talk about it, or I talk about it, or we put it online and it's on Instagram, and, you know, it just, I think it'll just get into the culture and people will know, okay, I can get this help. And that's so
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
All right. So the last thing, and this is another one I'm going to do. So I prepped you for this one.
Mm-hmm.
So every week, because my plan is to be putting these out weekly. We'll see how hard the editing process is. But I want to leave everybody with, because we both really like music and we like sort of the arts and all that stuff. So I want to leave everybody at the end of every episode with, you know, three things from my guest, and I'll probably give a couple. Um, Favorite artist, musical artist currently, a book that you're really liking, and give me a TV show or a movie um, that you've seen recently that you might think somebody might enjoy.
Okay. So a book that you gave me a while back, Handmaid's Tale. It's an old book, and it's a show now on Hulu. Um, I'm just completely fascinated with it, particularly the show. The book doesn't, at least the one book, the Handmaid's Tale book that I read, doesn't go as far into the story as the show does, but um, like in time as far. But it was truly fascinating and disturbing at the same time. And if you love being a woman, I would really recommend reading it. Really an amazing story. Um, Not truth, but not far from truth either, or what could be true. Um, so that's the frightening part. But so that's the book that I would recommend. TV, Ted Lasso. I am totally loving it. I love that we can laugh together at a silly show, but it's really great. It's not totally stupid. It's not that like gross comedy that some of the time we've watched in the past. But it's got a little bit of weirdness to it, and it's just I love hearing you laugh, Corey, because we don't do it a whole lot anymore, and I think we need more of it, and it's awesome to both of us be laughing at a show. Um, I'll give you four. I'll give you all four. The movie I watched last week, The Whale, is newer movie from late last year. I think it came out, and it was really fantastic. A really sad and difficult story, but really done so well. Recommend it definitely to watch it if you can. And my favorite music at the moment, well, is always Dave Matthews, but I really love Brandy Carlisle.
Okay.
She's an amazing artist, and I love all of her music. And I love that she loves to duet with people of all sorts, like all genres of music. She will sing a song with, and it's really cool.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting weird feedback. I am gonna go with a couple different things today. Um, so I was gonna say Ted Lasso, but you took it because it is. I mean, having coached soccer for a while and just kind of knowing a little bit about the game, but boy, it's just to me what I take out of it is his like leadership style. It's just so silly, but so effective,
Yeah.
and I just keep thinking of like, okay, how can I work this into my role? Like, how could I be more like Ted Lasso in The Office and not get fired? Um, so I'm working on that in the back of my head. But for a show, I am going to go right now with Glow, which is an older Netflix show. I had started it and then kind of let it just kind of hang out there. And about a week ago, I started watching the episodes again. And having grown up watching Glow wrestling, it would come on like very late at night, and it felt very naughty. It was like like Benny Hill naughty, like not really naughty, but like I probably shouldn't be watching this at my age,
Yeah.
and just kind of seeing the backstory of it. It's so interesting, and Allison Brie from Community's in there, and Mark Maron, who is like one of the OG podcasters. They're both in the show, and it's just a fun show to watch. Um, don't watch it with your kids. It's not a kid show. Um, there is nudity and cursing, and it's definitely not PG. So I'm gonna go with Glow. For my music, this is always a hard one because it's so up and down. Um, but I'm gonna go. I can't stop listening to Noah Khan. Um, it started a while ago, and then I guess this summer he put out the Stick Season CD, which has had a lot of viral fame. But like he's just got so many good songs, and so that's a big one for me. Um,
Okay.
books, it's a little harder. Um, right now I'm reading a murder book, true crime. Um, so I don't think I'm gonna give that. Uh, I don't know. What was the last good book I read? I haven't really read a lot of good books recently. Let me look under my desk here. Oh, I'll give it to you. It's Chaos. So it was a long read. It's kind of deals with, and the author is, hold on one second. The author is Tom O'Neill, and it's a book about Charles Manson, the CIA, um, like LSD. It's a pretty deep book. So again, a little true crime, but super interesting. It's like this guy's life's work. That's all he did is investigate sort of the discrepancies of the Charles Manson case. So I had read Helter Skelter a while ago, and this is sort of the, I don't know, rebuttal. It felt like a rebuttal to Helter
Hmm.
Skelter. So I'll go with that. In movies, I don't really watch movies like you anymore, so I have nothing to add on the movie front.
No
Not
worries.
not an ounce.
Yeah.
But I appreciated the conversation tonight. I don't think I could have
Yeah.
had a better
Thank you.
first guest. Hopefully the technical stuff all works out.
I hope
And,
so.
maybe I'll have you on again.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And
Sounds good.
for anybody looking to find Renee, I will have her social media accounts in the show notes, but she is Daylily Doulas on Instagram. Is it with an S? Is that right?
Yes.
Daylily
Yeah.
Doulas. And so you can find her there. And thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.